Another deadline in the Gulf War is fast approaching, and diplomatic efforts to prevent a deepening of the conflict have been underway today at the United Nations. CNN's j@ joins us now live from the UN with an update. Jeannie?
Well, tonight the U.S. ambassador and the Soviet ambassador paid separate visits to the Secretary General of the UN. These happened this evening. The U.S. ambassador, we spoke with him, he wouldn't say exactly what was discussed with the Secretary General. And as for the Soviet ambassador, well, he apparently briefed the Secretary General on what was going on in Moscow, and apparently he told the Secretary General that the Soviet Union would not be asking for a Security Council meeting tonight. Reporters asked the Secretary General if the Soviets would ask for a meeting tomorrow.
For a meeting by where we are considering it. Were you discouraged by the rejection by the United States of the latest six-point Soviet plan?
No, I think as long as there are contacts between the United States and the Soviet Union, I am not totally discouraged.
Now, the Soviet Union had said yesterday that it would brief the members of the Security Council on its peace plan, but then the plan changed, and so far there is still no scheduled council meeting for the Soviet ambassador to brief members of the council. Diplomats here at the UN sort of spent the day on the sidelines, basically watching events in Baghdad and Washington and in Moscow, events one diplomat here described as breathtaking. Diplomats here were in particular taken by surprise by President Bush's ultimatum. Basically, he said to Iraq, start withdrawing by noon tomorrow or else. And Iran's ambassador was asked by reporters if Iraq didn't respond by noon, does he expect a ground war?
I don't think that we are at the stage to see the ground forces start the battle. I believe we are at the stage very close to the final political solution, and we should continue our efforts.
But Iran's ambassador wouldn't say why he thought we were near to a final political solution. You should know that most people here do not expect. President Bush's ultimatum basically calls for Iraq to give some sort of answer to the UN by noon tomorrow. Basically, most people here do not think that any Iraqi diplomats are going to be trotting up to the Secretary General's office sometime before noon tomorrow. You never know, but most people here do not expect it. One other development here at the UN officials announced that the UN official who is in charge of the peacekeeping forces met today with representatives from several countries that normally provide troops. The Scandinavian countries in particular often provide peacekeeping forces for the UN. And today the UN's peacekeeping official met with several ambassadors from those countries to ask them if they would be willing to supply troops if a peacekeeping force were formed. This was just described as a preliminary effort, just so the force could be ready in the event that it was needed. I'm j@ reporting live from the United Nations.
Reaction from the Saudi Arabian point of view is next. We will be joined by the Saudi ambassador to the United States, Prince Bandar bin Sultan. Last night, the Foreign Minister of Iraq, Aziz, was in Moscow, and at the same time, the Iraqis fired a missile at Saudi Arabia. There has just been another Scud alert in Saudi Arabia. 150 oil wells were lighted in Kuwait. Does it sound like peace is imminent?
Not if we rely on Saddam Hussein's behavior or thinking. I believe that this man has committed a lot of crimes against his people, against our region, against the environment, and against the peace and stability in the whole region. And this is why the whole coalition has taken the decision that was announced today by President Bush.
You, of course, as very important members of that coalition, are fully aboard on what President Bush did today.
That's right. King Fahd and President Bush agree that we have tried everything to get a peaceful solution or to get some common sense put through this man's head. And President Gorbachev has tried everything, but we cannot get him to understand the gravity and the magnitude of the damage he's doing to his country and to the region.
Is there no room left between what Moscow was trying to attempt and what the United States and the coalition was trying to attempt. There are major differences. President Bush's ultimatum today gives a week for the pullout. Moscow would have given 3 weeks, things like that. Do you think the line of patience is now almost to zero?
I think, in fact, I saw it on CNN after the president's statement. The deputy spokesman for Mr. Gorbachev put the blame where it is, at Saddam Hussein's doors. The truth of the matter, President Gorbachev is doing a valiant, is trying very hard, and we appreciate his effort, but he is not finding the response he needs from the Iraqis. And when we say an unconditional implement withdrawal, you cannot then say, and we condition it on this or that or the other. So our differences are not just timing here and there. I think those could be worked out one way or another.
Why do you think the Soviets, when they crafted their first language and again addressed a second time something that didn't satisfy you and the coalition, why do you think they ignored the issue of reparations, that one central point of who is to rebuild Kuwait and pay for it?
We asked them the same questions, and I didn't get any satisfactory answer myself. The answer generally is we have to give them a face-saving. Why do you need to give a face-saving measures to a criminal who committed such crimes like this? If a man goes into your neighbor's house, holds everybody hostage, rapes the woman of the house, the police comes in, and he says, now, if you don't leave me alone, I will blow up the house. Do you go out for a way to give him face-saving measures? You must stand for rights, and I believe the Soviets were trying their best. It's just Saddam Hussein did not help them or give them what they need.
Do you believe that tonight Saddam Hussein, perhaps in his bunker, believes that he is talking to a majority of the Arab world when he thinks he is still proceeding in the right way?
I'm glad you mentioned Saddam Hussein in a bunker. Saddam Hussein, while his people being hurt and killed and injured, is calling on them to go for martyrship. Of course, it's great to be brave from underground, and he's been, this tiger became a mouse, in my judgment. But talking to the Arab masses, no, I think Saddam Hussein is finished as far as the Arab masses are concerned. He tried to con the whole world that he's the champion of the Palestinian cause, and guess what did he do? He sold Palestinians out. He dropped the issue that galvanized most of the Arab world. And now, our brothers and sisters in the Arab world will see Saddam Hussein for what he really is, a con man, a fake, but unfortunately, this is not a gangster or a city crime. This is a state and a nation, and he has no right to cause the agonies and the damage that he has caused to his people, to our people, to the Kuwaiti people, and to the region at large. So, I think his events have exposed him to the world.
How do you believe Iraq, as you talk to other coalition members, do you believe that it has exhausted its chances to delay? For surely what we're seeing is yet another attempt to delay. What I'm getting to is that's a very serious deadline, apparently, as of noon tomorrow. It isn't one which commits the war to begin at that time, but it is one which will start the clock ticking louder than it has.
Well, if I was Saddam Hussein, I'll take another look at this latest events and take it very serious. Obviously, he didn't take 15 January serious. And after that, he started hollering. I always said that if you can't take the heat, don't go in the kitchen. He's gone to the kitchen, and he discovered that he's not up to what happened there. I have great respect for the Iraqi armed forces and the Iraqi fighters and the Iraqi people. I think the reason you see them surrendering en masse now and not putting up a fight is simply because they don't believe in his cause.
Well, we don't see the Republican Guard surrendering yet, and if there is a retreat, they would remain intact. Those planes that are now safely in Iran from his Air Force would remain intact. I can't believe that Saudi Arabia would feel very safe.
Well, between you and I, Saddam Hussein is his own worst enemy, and I think Saddam Hussein will solve that problem for us.
The people or Saddam? How will Saddam do it?
By giving us a chance to do what needs to be done to neutralize some of the threats he has. He's done it before, I'm sure he will do it again.
You spend your workday, reading between the lines, do you have any ambassadorial advice for a solution before this noonday comes tomorrow?
I can tell you one thing. King Fahd would love to see